And in this video we're going to learn how to detect the user's location using geolocation, and we're going to learn how to integrate that into your WordPress theme. So I've created a plugin for the same. You have an option of not creating a plugin, just include the custom functions file and the JavaScript file into your own theme, and that would work too. But I'm doing it with a plugin, and this plugin I will soon be uploading on the WordPress site, so you can go ahead and download it and use it directly. Okay, so what we want to achieve is basically so this is basically the WordPress 2017 theme, and when the user reaches your site, we want the user to get the we want to know the user's location, let's say the locality, the city, the state, and the country and the complete address if you want to. Okay, so how do we get that? So to get that, what we want to do basically is you going to use the geolocation. Okay, and I've created that this plugin will make certain classes available to you, and all you have to do is add those classes to your development of your site wherever you want to show that, and sure enough it will go ahead and tell you the information about the city, locality, state, country, address, and so on and so forth. So as you can see over here, these are the classes that this plugin will make available to you. So wherever you want to display the city where the user is current location is, the state and everything, all these information, you can just go ahead and define the development and then just add the class to it. It could be p element also, it could be a span, it could be anything but not the input element. Okay, so let's begin then. So what we need to do is we need to create a plugin file first. So this is how you create the plugin file. I'll just zoom it out so you can see. Don't worry, all of this code will be available on GitHub, and I will leave the link for you in the comment box, so description box, so you don't have to worry about typing it right now. Okay, cool. So this is the plugin, and I'm sure you know this is the header of the plugin file. Okay, and I've created the a directory with the IHS geolocation. That's the name of my plugin, and I've created this file which is IHS geolocation .php, and I have included a custom functions.php file. So this is another file that I've created over here in which all of things are going on, which I'll explain to you in a bit. And then I've created a vendor folder which has the JS folder inside of it, and inside of this JS folder you have the main.js where again certain codes are going on. Okay, so just to recap, create a plugin directory inside of your plugin directory of your theme, and then create this particular file of that plugin name, and then include the custom functions.php inside of the main plugin file. Okay, also you can create style.css. I haven't really written anything inside of it, but in case if you want to, you can. Okay, so let's begin then. So inside of the first file, we've included custom functions.php, and inside of the custom functions.php, the first thing we are doing is we are defining certain constants. These constants are nothing but the constants to which contain the URI. So this contains the URI of up until this plugin directory, up until this directory. This includes the path up until this directory, and the JS URI includes the URI up until this JS file, main.js. Okay, then we are checking that if this function doesn't exist, go ahead and define this function. Okay, and inside of this function we are enqueuing our style sheet, and then also checking if the user is on a front page. Then go ahead and include the ajax.googleapis.com, ajax libs, jQuery, jQuery So we are including the jQuery file of Google API, and then we are also including our main.js file, which resides inside of the JS folder inside of vendor. Okay, so we're including these. We are applying this condition only for front page, which means this functionality will only work when the user on the front page. Usually that's where we want to show the location. We don't want to show the location everywhere, but in case if you want to do that on all locations, all you have to do is just get rid of this condition so that this AJAX request goes in all of the pages. Okay, cool. Now in the add action, basically I have gone ahead and included this particular function using the WP enqueue script. So this is going to enqueue this. Okay, so these two, the style sheet, the JavaScript file and the jQuery file will be included using this function. Okay, the next thing we are doing over here is basically creating another function, custom function, just location enqueue script. We are using a WP localized script. The job of this function basically is to go ahead and create a script tag just before our JavaScript file, and create an object called geodata, and inside of that object there will be property name Ajax URL. This will give the URL up until the admin ajax.php file, and the data received from JS is another property name, and the value will be $_post. So whatever is returned by the Ajax request when we perform an Ajax request will be stored under the $_post and will be available to this particular function. Okay, so basically this URL will be available to geodata object, and that geodata object will be available before the JavaScript file. Okay, then we are enqueuing this particular function using the WP enqueue scripts. Next thing is that we are defining this particular function wherein we are checking the $_post latitude, longitude values. We can check all of this later. Let's jump into our JS file. Okay, inside of the JS file we are using this function, self-invoking function, which is this one, making the $sign available at the end as well, jQuery. Okay, so in this function we are using the geolocation function, which is navigator.geolocation, and then navigator.geolocation.get current position. So this is basically going to make the current position available to this particular function. This is a custom function. Otherwise, if your browser doesn't support the geolocation, it will just console log that it is not supported by your browser. So basically this particular function will have the position element available because of this function. So this function will make position object available to this particular custom function. This custom function is defined over here. Inside of this function we are passing the position, which is actually made available by this function. Position.coordinates.latitude and longitude will have the latitude and longitude values, which we are storing in the latitude and longitude values variables. And then we are creating an object called location object, which will store the all the information like city, state, locality, and country, etc. Location object result will contain the result returned by the function that we'll be defining in some time. And then the request is basically going to contain the Ajax request, so it's Ajax request variable. So we're saying the request is equal to $_post. So we are using the Ajax request. We're saying geodata.ajax URL. This object, like I said, is made available by this function WP localized script, contains Ajax URL and this information. Okay, so this is available here, made available over here. Okay, and then we are saying action is equal to geo ajax hook. This is the same name that we need to use. So this is the same name we need to use when we are using add action WP ajax geo ajax hook and WP ajax no priv geo ajax hook. So these both of these add action is going to call this particular custom function with the same name as geo ajax hook, which is the same name that we have defined in our JavaScript ajax request, which is this one right here. Okay, so this hook is basically when the user is logged in, and this hook is basically when the user is not logged in, because we want our functionality to work whether the user is logged in or not in both situations. Then you have the latitude and longitude values available, which we have just calculated from here. And then you have function status console log ajax complete, which means whenever the ajax request is complete, then it'll just say in the console ajax complete. And so dollar dot post, which is the AJAX request, is having three parameters. One is the URL of the AJAX file, admin.ajax, then the object containing the information like action, latitude and longitude, and then the function after the AJAX request is complete. So these three parameters made available. Okay, and then once this request has been completed, so that's why we're saying request.done, which means $.post.done is the same as the request.done. Then we are calling the function, which is function, and it's going to contain the response, and we can always print out the response. And if there is response inside of it, if we get the response from the AJAX request, then we go ahead and say that the address component is equal to so and so. So let's go ahead and check this out into our console. Let's refresh the page. So you can see the AJAX request is successful. Okay, but we haven't got any data yet inside of it. Let's refresh it again. Okay, got the data. Alright, if you check the console, so inside of this response, what we actually getting is data received from JS, which contains the action, latitude and longitude, which is this information, action, latitude and longitude. And then inside of the location data sent to JS, we are getting the we are getting an array, basically contains two information, this and this. Okay, so what's happening over here is basically inside of the whatever is returned by the JavaScript AJAX request is stored under the $_post. This is made available to your custom function, and custom function we are trying to check if it has the latitude and longitude, which means does it have the latitude and longitude. If it does, then go ahead and say that the URL is equal to maps.google API and so on and so forth, latitude and longitude. So this is going to get me the URL. This is the JSON file get contents URL. Then the data JSON decode JSON, and the status, which is data status. Okay, if the status is okay, if we get the value from the Google API, from the geocode, okay, then address will be equal to data result 0 format address, which means that basically the data that is returned over here at this place, okay, the result property, which is the zeroth element, will have something called format address, which is equal to address. So whatever we're getting over here, basically this entire thing, okay, this is actually returned by this. Okay, you can always print out this and check out what it contains, but eventually that's what is going to give us this entire address. Okay, then the next thing is the address array. If you check the address component, okay, then in fact that would actually return the address array, which will include this one, this one right here. So it'll have the the long name, the street name, the address and everything, the city, state, locality and things like that. Okay, so these two information that we are getting using this particular API, we are going ahead and passing that to location data sent to JS in form of an array. So address will contain the entire address, this address, okay, in location data.send to JS, and then address array, which is what we're getting from here, will contain the entire array containing all the information about the location. Okay, cool. Now we're using the add action, which I already explained, to go ahead and call this function when the AJAX request is completed. Okay, so this will make available all of this information here. So when we console response, this is what we get over here in the response. We have the data, and data has the two information: data received from JS and location data sent to JS. and this is what is being sent over here. Location data sent to JS, data received from JS. Okay, so this information is being sent on when the AJAX request is successful. Okay, so these two information are available. Okay, so over here, once we get the response, what we're going to do is we're going to say address component response.data location sent to JS1, which means we're saying that response.data location data sent to JS, and we want to get hold of this array, the first element. That's why we're saying 1 over here. Okay, that's what we're trying to access. So we are storing that in a variable called address component, which will be containing this particular information out here. And then we are also storing the address, which is saying response.data location data sent to JS, and the 0th element response.data receive location data sent to JS, and the 0th element that will contain the address, basically this here. Okay, now if the address component, which means if it has this first item available, this entire array available, then go ahead and call this function, which is IHS get location, and pass the address and the address component array. So here is the function that we've defined, this IHS get location. This is going to return the location object. Over here we are defining the variables. We are setting them up. Locality, city, state, country, location object. We are running a loop over this array, and we're checking certain condition over here to get the locality, city, state, and country. We're checking if the address component type is equal to 0. So the first time the loop is run is going to look for the type locality, type 0 locality. So where is type 0 locality? So you can see this is types 0 element locality. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and store this value into locality. Then it's going to look for administration area level 2, look for the type 0. So administrative area level 2 type 0. Okay, so it's going to get the value of long name, which is Pune. Address component long name, so to Pune. Okay, and then similarly it's going to look for all of these two information and store the state and the country, which is basically nothing but the state and the country. Okay, once we have all of this information, we're going to check if we've got any value inside of them. If we do, inside of the country, and then if we do, then go ahead and create an object with locality is equal to locality, city, state, country, address, and we're going to return this location object. So we're going to get the location object over here. Then what we want to do is basically store this information into local storage, because think about it, in case if the user has already refreshed the page and we've got the location, we don't really want to wait for the AJAX request to complete the next time we want to get the location. So that is why it's way better to store that information into the browser's cache data, and we can do that by using the local storage set item function method. Okay, it accepts two parameters. First is the name of the local storage, and second is the value. Now local storage method doesn't accept objects, but it only accepts strings. So what we're doing is, because we want to actually store object, we're going to convert that in form of a JSON. So that's why we are converting the location object received in form of a JSON format. So that's why we're using JSON.stringify location object, and then we're storing the stringified version of the object in the local storage, which is the browser's cache memory. That data will be there up until the user doesn't close the browser. Okay. Then we are now when we want to retrieve that data, obviously we need to convert that data back into an object. So we are using JSON.parse, and then we are retrieving the data from local storage get item. So set item sets the local storage, get item gets the local storage. It accepts only one parameter, the name of the local storage that you've stored. Okay, so we're getting the information using the local storage object, and this object basically, if we go ahead and console it, So you can clearly see that this object basically has the address, city, country, locality, and state. And that's what we've stored over here. Yeah. So all we have to do is go ahead and append it to the DOM. I've created the this particular code. I've written this particular code saying that find the element with the class name IHS locality and set the HTML value to locality. Local object result dot locality, which means dot locality, this one. Then the city, then the state, the country, and then the address. Dot city, dot state, dot country, and dot address. So it's going to look for the element with the class name and so and respectively assign their HTML values to these values, and that's what's happening over here. If you check inspect element, okay, so it has appended the values to these particular classes. Okay, so how did we get these divs actually over here? So all you have to do is go to your theme. So I'm going to go into my themes directory, 2017 index.php, and all I've done is just echoed out these divs. So irrespective of where you want, as long as it's on a home page, you can define these divs wherever you want with these classes. If you only want the city, then only define the div with the city. If you only want the country, then do it with the country. Okay. So wherever you want it. So if you only want to on the home page, make sure that in the custom functions where's it gone? Yeah, is front page. So whichever page you want this functionality to work, just ensure define that. If you want this to work on all the pages, then don't use this condition before enqueuing your JavaScript file and jQuery files. Okay, and in case if there is a form element that you have, if you have an input element that you want to set the value to the city name or the country name, then all you have to do is just say that just get that selector of that input element and say val, and then it'll be equal to this. So it will automatically set the value of the input element to that. Okay, so you have basically what I'm trying to convey to you, that you have this object available, location object result. You can see that you have this object, use it the way you want to. You want to append it to the DOM, append it to the DOM. If you want to append it to a particular element, append that as well. So it's up to you how you want to use it. A few more important things that I do want to share with you, that in case if this functionality doesn't work, just refresh it a couple of times and just wait for a few seconds, because this entire functionality is happening with Ajax. So it may take time for this Ajax request to complete. You can always come to network tab and check if this Ajax request is showing 200 status or not, it's complete or not. You can always figure out things over here, and make sure that you're using the HTTPS, because these functionality of geolocation with the get current position function won't work on non-secure sites like HTTP. So it has to be HTTPS. Okay, cool. That's all you have to do then. You don't have to be a developer to be able to use this particular plugin. And once again, if you want to go ahead and just use this set of codes, just include the custom functions and main.js file into your own theme. You don't actually have to create a plugin for that. But if you do want to use the plugin, you can always download it from WordPress site whenever it's available. And then, or also you can just copy these codes from GitHub. I'll be leaving the notes for you. If you still have any questions, you can always write in the comment box and write to me directly, and I'll be able to help you with that. Okay, I hope you did like it. If you do, then you can subscribe to my channel and share my video with others. You can always leave comments for me. That'll encourage me to make more of such videos. Okay, take care guys. Bye bye.